Hello, beautiful people. Wow, I guess this is it. First episode of my official podcast, Puhpowee Talks, where I will be sharing. That's the question, I always like the biggest question mark for me is always when someone asks, like, or even like when you start something online, it's like to put a category to it. And I'm like, I never know. But I guess the common theme is that one, I love exploring the world, but I guess what's actually the most important for me is to explore the inner landscape through variety of different experiences and just different philosophies, etc. So I guess, yeah, I know it's super vague, but I thought, wow, like this has been on my mind for years already, that like I love to talk, I love to tell stories, um but actually it's not something that I'm super comfortable with in terms of like taking the space, to actually share. And actually, yeah, I don't know, I'm at the point in my life where I feel like I don't know anything. So just let you know that this is not educational podcast. Hopefully you might take something from it, from my stories. And yeah, I thought, like this is the time, like I'm just done thinking about doing stuff and kind of being stuck in my mind in this like dream-like visions about X or Z. Like I just want to go and try if I actually enjoy the process. Oh, and it's interesting because I already have so many like points I could touch upon here. But actually, before hitting record, I was thinking that I would love to share with you a story of my how to say, experience of doing Vipassana, or actually, I always call it chiller Vipassana. For those of you who don't know, Vipassana is this very specific method, or like actually whole experience of 10 days of silent meditation, where you go to the specific meditation center. Basically, yeah, of course, you give up all of the technology and you enter this very strict schedule of basically meditating. There's not much else happening for 10 days. And not only you're without the technology, but also it's silence. So in the mean that there are other people taking part in the meditation itself, but you're not supposed to talk nor actually communicate in any other way. But for that, you can check out like the official Vipassana website, like it's dharma.org, I think. But I want to talk to you about what I called chiller Vipassana, because it's not from like in this very specific way that I think it's Goenke, who's like the teacher that you listen to his lecture during this meditation. This is, let's say, Vipassana inspired experience. So let's travel back in time. Wow, okay. how to how to like make an intro of what was happening in my life? Okay. Um, let's say it was a year, actually almost exactly. It was January of 2024, and I just went through very interesting experience of meditation co-live. Um, Co-living, in terms of like that, I think there was like 20 or 30 of us, and basically strangers, that we went to this one huge campus in Portugal that was, consisted of different buildings. And the idea was that we are all living there, working there. And the theme of the co-living is meditation. We had our own meditation teacher on site, and we had 2 hours of classes per day in the morning and in the evening. Because the idea of the whole co-live was that it's very much it's month long, And the idea is that you kind of continue living your life, like working and like doing the stuff you're doing. And additionally, you have this meditation classes where you have a teacher. It's all guided. And also you build beautiful connections with other people. That could be entire yeah, that's another episode, sorry. But I remember when I went there and I was kind of blown away, because meditation before, like, it has been in my life since I remember. I even found some like old journals of mine, and like I was 17 and I was like tracking my meditation, but with very different idea of what meditation actually is. I don't want to call it superficial because I don't want to be like, oh, now I know. No, I still don't know. But back in the day, I remember I was just like curious. Okay, what is it about? And I remember I tried Headspace, etc., etc. But I never went too much into like the whole philosophy of it, or like what are we actually trying to, I mean, quote unquote, achieve. This is such a contradiction already. Anyway, I arrived in the college, and I remember that some people had like really a lot of experience with meditation. On contrary to me, like I was such a newbie in everything, and I remember like going there, and like so many people like already done like ayahuasca ceremonies, like in the jungle somewhere, and like done 5 vipassanas, and I was like, hello. So let's meditate. Anyway, that was the moment when so sorry, that was actually 2023. Three, four, third, oh my god, basically almost 1.5 years ago in November. So that's when the concept of vipassana even like entered my real life, in terms of like, wow, actually I got to know people that went through the experience and were talking about this and sharing, and I was like, wow, okay, this is like next level, right? Especially that, as I mentioned, the let's say original vipassana that they've been doing is like meditating, I think like 10 hours per day. Like you wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. and basically you just meditate whole day with like short breaks for food. And I was super, super curious. Anyway, a lot of life happened in between. But few months after the college ended, actually in January, I was facing so much in my life. Like phew, I was facing burnout, but I want to say at my job. But I think I was just facing like kind of existential crisis, and of course, like it's kind of connected. I mean, existential crisis. This is like me every week, so I don't even know. But it was like very intense because I was really feeling, wow, I cannot believe that I'm spending like, or it wasn't even that I was working so much. I was just thinking about the work so much, and it wasn't really aligned with what brought me joy at the time. And I remember I had this huge realization in January, because one of the friends I met in the college, she was very vocal about her burnout. And, we were talking a lot. And yeah, I was her like kind of yellow duck, that I was just there for her. And actually, I was like, yeah, I think I was a really good conversation partner, which I didn't realize was because I was facing the same. I just didn't actually, realize, wow, maybe actually, you know, staying at the job that I'm doing is not the best decision at the moment. Um, Anyway, so last January, I realized, okay, the work situation, like, I really need to change it up. And it wasn't coming from a place of like, my company is bad or the job is boring, because, like, actually, the job I used to do, like, I used to love. And the company, I loved my company that I was at. And, like, it was super flexible. Like, it's basically, I don't know, I think it's close to being, I don't know, hard to find another job with such great um, alignment in many. aspects in terms of like the flexibility of not only like working location, working hours, taking like so much unlimited time off, and just like it was amazing. But I knew that, wow, okay, I know it's amazing, and I know that I might be just like an insane person, but this is just not aligned. So I was, um, yeah, really, I don't know. It was kind of a brutal realization, when I'm like, oh my God, yes, actually, I am facing burnout. And that was when, with few of the people that I met during the co-live in November, like co-live went on for a few more, actually months. We went to Azores, the Portuguese islands, together for a few weeks just to stay there. And I was still very close with people that, went through Vipassana experience. And I guess after that, after Azores, I came back to Poland. That's where I'm from, to Krakow. This is where I have my, or actually, yeah, it used to be my grandparents' apartment. And, always coming back here. Wow, this is turning into such a life story. But just coming to Krakow to the empty apartment, where like it's so dark and gray, and it's funny because it's the place where like I grew up. I was living here till like here because I'm again in Krakow for a bit now, but um, living in Krakow, like I spent majority of my life here, which is funny because to be honest, I was feeling the most lonely here. I was facing such an existential dread. Um, and okay, so that was February. And I remember that it was a time that every year from my company, we had this like 1 week long retreats because my company is, I mean, they still are, I'm no longer working there, but uh, they used to hold these annual retreats where all of us would fly in, and we would just have some like kind of talks, lectures, workshops, team building activities, etc., etc. And as always, it was in US, because majority of the folks, even though we were all working like asynchronously and from all the parts of the world, like majority of the company was still based in US. So that's why I knew, okay, I have one more month and I know that I'm going to US. And I remember, whew, last February in Krakow, that was fucking journey for sure. And for the whole experience of the college that happened a few months earlier, and all of the beautiful, beautiful people that I met there, like I created such deep bonds, and like I don't know, just I learned so much, and I'm so grateful for this experience. And I guess it also kind of kickstarted my own journey of understanding that maybe life is not only about running after the experiences that make you feel good and like resisting everything else. And it was tricky because it's easy to say when you're like high on life and everything is rolling, right? But it's super hard when like you're so depressed and like everything feels so dark. And when you enter this like zero or one mentality, it's so tricky to actually sit with yourself. And I remember I was like, okay, usually when I was flying to US for those company meetings, like I usually batched it with after the week of the retreat, I was taking like few weeks off just to travel, right? And it's funny because I already had a plan. I was like, okay, I'm flying to Colorado for the company thingy, and I will just go to Arizona from there. I will rent a van. I love van life. I will just travel on my own, and just life is great. And I mean, honestly, it still sounds like an amazing trip. But at this point, and I'm so grateful because it's funny. Like I don't know, I'm just grateful for the awareness that appeared in me, that when I honestly, it was like I had to be like radically honest with myself. Like there was not much else left. If I ask myself, wow, am I actually like, is another trip as good as it sounds actually a good idea right now? Like, or I fuck the road trip van life in Arizona plan and I just go and do this freaking Vipassana thing. Um, because I was kind of sick, sick of running away from myself. I was I was really not at peace with thinking that, my life or my happiness or mental well-being is so conditional, that I'm great when sun is shining and I'm like meeting strangers in Portugal, but whenever I land home, I'm like just miserable and so hard to. And I knew that it's the mind, right? Mind is running the show, and it's the stories it tells you. Um, and also at that time, it was first time that I was. Oh, actually, it correlated with so many things in my life. I was uh, actually going through my own when I was doing life coaching certification. So, and I was really committed um, to face myself, to sit with myself, to just not run away anymore, to just not resist everything that is quote unquote suboptimal in terms of feeling. I was like, really, okay, whatever I need to feel, I'm here to feel it. And oh, I really experienced a lot. And I think I discovered some new ways of operating in this world for myself. So, long story short, I decided, okay, baby, let's do it. Let's face ourselves, I was scared as fuck because, 10 days in silence, basically with minimal stimuli. I'm not even talking like about the phone, but like also like when was the last time I was without any technology for 10 days? Like I could not kind of comprehend. Um, so okay, this is when the story starts. So to give you a little bit of context, as I said, I was doing not like the proper Vipassana, the chiller version. Chiller version, I mean by it that it was only like 6 hours of meditation per day. Additionally, there were some lectures from the teachers because, yes, this is the question that a lot of people ask. Yeah, I mean, you don't talk with anyone, but there are teachers that speak to you during, let's say, the lecture part. Um, so, yes, let's go back there. So, the Vipassana I found. Actually, I tried to enroll in the like real one. I mean, the official Vipassana, but I couldn't find anything that would make sense, like location wise or like just timing wise. Also, sometimes it's so freaking hard to get to those. Like you need to be on the wait list or like just apply whenever it opens because then it's full so quickly. And I was so happy when I found this place in Mexico. And, in my head, from US, Mexico, not so far away. And it just aligned perfectly. Basically, the day I finished my conference thing in US, I was flying and I flew to Mexico City and from there to Tuxtla. Wow, I have no idea. It was somewhere in Chiapas. Um, and the meditation center, actually the name of the place is Hildaya Yoga, and they have two different meditation centers in Mexico. They also have one in France and I think somewhere else, but this one was in Chiapas, so the state that is. Actually, I don't think it has access to ocean from any side. It's like closer to Yucatan, let's say, but it's still like kind of in the middle of Mexico. So I was like, okay, I'm just flying there. So I booked myself a spot, and to be honest, I was just super curious what it will feel like, and like I don't know, it was fun. For me to see, oh, be prepared because like you need to wake up at 6 or whatever. Bring your own like alarm clock that is not like an Apple Watch or iPhone, right? Because you don't have any technology. So, um, yeah, I just got my journal. I got my alarm clock and I went there, and it was interesting experience because I arrived so so late, just because all of the people were there already earlier, and they got to like have and like say introduction dinner, and meet everyone, and etc. But I arrived so late because of my US thing. So I got there like 11 p.m. I remember I was just like driving for an hour in this like with this Mexican guy through like wherever, and I was like, oh my god, this is like part of the story where you kind of get kidnapped or else. But no, actually, I was so tired that I just went to sleep. And we finally, after an hour drive, we arrived to this like place that I don't know how it looks like, right? It's like the middle of the night. And I entered this house. Wow, it's so funny to just bring it back in my memory. So many feelings. It was this like wooden house that you entered through from the street, but street wasn't like a street, like it was like a dirt road. So I entered the house, and there were like I think two girls still staying and chatting. So we exchanged few sentences, that I just arrived, what do I do, etc. And they got the teacher to kind of introduce me to the whole thing. So I got this, let's say, pamphlet with the day's schedule. Um, and I got introduced to my roommate. That was so funny because we managed to exchange, I don't know, like 10 words before kind of going to sleep, and knowing that we won't speak to each other for 10 days and we will be sharing a room. Like, this was already such a bizarre thought to have, like very interesting. So I remember I really enjoyed like the vibe of the house itself. It was, I would say, more like modest vibe, but I don't know, it reminded me so much of a little cottage house that my grandparents built in Poland, that I used to spend all summers with. So like it was all wooden and kind of cute, and I was actually really excited. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. Like by that time, I don't know, like okay, I meditated for like 2 hours uh in one stretch, but like once, and now it was like, a whole experience. um so actually, let me bring the pamphlet. I think I have it. Oh, I actually have it. Oh, I have the whole journal from this experience right here. How convenient. So actually, important thing to note, like why I picked this place specifically. I just loved the idea that I could journal. I think it would be too much for me if I could not. So that was like, yes, I love journaling. I kind of needed to process things, and I thought, okay, this is maybe a nice kind of, slowing down into it. And also, what I really, really appreciated, usually Vipassana is super strict about, um, the exercise, or actually lack of that, you should not really, try to strain your body because it's already like a distraction for the mind, right? But here we had like one hatha yoga session per day. And wow, yeah, wow, I'm just holding the pamphlet I got the first day I arrived there. So let me just find a page, mm, with the schedule to kind of bring it closer to you, how the experience was. But also, I remember, like it's sometimes little things like the idea of having this pamphlet where you have everything lined up and you can read a little bit. It's just kind of cute. And I don't know, I just appreciate it. Let me find the page. Here it is. Okay, so the schedule, daily schedule, from 7 to 9, there's meditation, so 2 hours. Then from 9 to 10, breakfast break, so we have 1 hour. From 10 to 12:15, there's Q&A and lecture. And I know you might be wondering, what does Q&A mean? Didn't it supposed to be silent? Great question. And actually, the way we ask questions was write them down on the notes, and then the teacher just pulled it almost like from a hat and just kind of explained it. I love this. I actually, day 8 of no stimuli, I was like, I'm living for this lecture. Like, give me some, give me something. Anyway, from 12:15 to 12:30, there was a short break. I mean, just basically to pee and refill your water bottle. Then we had hatha yoga for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And after that, we still, oh, actually, it was super short, only a 30-minute meditation. Uh, but with the block of with hatha, with also a disclaimer, or maybe later. Okay, let's go through it. And then from 2:15 to 4, there was lunch break, and this was the longest break during the day, where you really had the time, what, like 1.5 hours or so, to just eat your lunch and to do, actually, yeah, to do nothing, just to be. And then from 4 to 6:30, there was another meditation, so 2.5 hour block. And then from 6:30 to 7:30, dinner break. And the last thing was from 7:30 till like almost past 9, and it was a little bit of lecture and meditation. Usually it was super short lecture and mainly meditation. So yes, that was, I was like, okay, so I guess this is the plan for 10 days. And also, what I want to mention about hatha yoga, this was it was very meditative experience. I mean, throughout the whole session, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes, at least this is what it says. I don't remember if it was exactly like this. I think we went through 10 asanas. Like when we were doing asana, we were doing it like for minutes on end, which I feel like is very, 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 very different to anything I experienced anywhere in terms of like um, yoga practice. Um, so yes, I would say it gave you a little bit of movement, but it was mainly still meditation. Like it was beautiful. Actually, I have very, very fond experiences. So let me go a little bit to my experience. I mean, definitely the first thing that hit me was so weird to not look at other people and avoid the, eye contact and not to communicate with anyone. Like, oh, just the urge you start to notice, like, how much things are just like so ingrained in you that you just want to do it, like to say good morning or thank you when someone is serving you food, and here you're like, you cannot. And my my soul was like, no. And it was interesting, but also what I noticed, I think it was kind of connected with this fear of rejection, that no one is looking at you, and like so much like fear and anxiety is kind of triggered by like, oh, what if they like whatever, like this is just the brain, right? It's just the mind that creates the story. But that was very interesting on like the social. No, this is what hit me, the first time, especially that I knew, wow, we are going to be here almost 2 weeks, and I cannot, like, I don't even know people's names, like I don't know anything about them. um so bear in mind that this experience was, wow, almost exactly a year ago. So I want to really focus maybe on the highlights, or not highlights, um maybe main things that are still with me after this year. Also, maybe hopefully this is something that you will feel that resonates with you on your journey, and that you're curious about the experience. So yeah, I'm just like shedding a little bit of light, because I remember that when I was thinking about it, of course I was researching, if like others people um experiences. um so yeah, on the social front, I remember this was very interesting for me to notice almost as a first thing. In terms of the meditation itself, it's funny, and or like the whole schedule, it's funny how quickly your mind or you just accustom that, okay, this is just my day, um which is very interesting considering, this is such a different experience of life for those 10 days, which also it's such a time bender. What is even time? Like, what is even time in general? But there, it really, wow, it's a different level of experience. In a way, when now I think about this experience, it feels like a year that I've been there, but also like an hour. Um, but I think it really speaks about the beauty of just taking the first step. If you're thinking that sounds interesting for you to discover whatever is bottled up in you and find out more about the meditation and actually practice and like learn a little bit about philosophy behind it, about different spiritual seekers or like people that actually spread this and like what are the roots of all of those practices. It's amazing. I love that experience. I really, really love that. And there is certain freedom in restrictions. That's what I found. I found it, of course, there were so little stimuli, right? Like no phone, no everything. Like literally, you just be, like you don't even need to worry what you're going to eat because there are some karma yogis, so people that volunteer and prepare food for you. So you're just literally there to experience you and try to understand who are you. And that brings me to the most powerful question, because many of the meditations we experience different ways of meditating, different techniques, but one of the core ones is the self inquiry, which is really about meditating, contemplating the question, who am I? Wow, this is like already such a subject. Like, I could probably talk a lot about this, not because I know anything, but just just because of my experience. This question really was something on my mind since I can remember. I was aware as a human being. I don't know if I was 4 years old or whatever, and I was already kind of thinking about this. And it's such a beautiful, oh, actually, it's another topic. And I think nothing speaks more than actually meditating on it, to understanding that all of the thoughts, all of the doings, all of the goings and havings, like all of the emotions and feelings and stories and beliefs and this and that and this and that, is actually not you, that you're just the witness. It's called, I think, witness consciousness, which is interesting because you might say from very surface level that it's like disassociating with like your human persona, which might sound, I don't know, disturbing at first when you hear all of that, right? If your whole life you think like your life, your work and your partner and your apartment and your travels and experiences and friends, and this is your life, right? So I won't dig deeper, but it was something that really stuck with me. I Yes, let's end it at that. So the meditation itself, as I mentioned, like many of them were focused on the self-inquiry, and it wasn't about like saying in your mind all the time, who am I, who am I, who am I, but really like kind of as with breathing meditation, when you focus on the breath and especially the spot under your nose to feel any sensations of warmth when you're breathing in and out through your nose. I think it's more like an anchor. So whenever you feel like your brain and your mind is drifting away with thoughts because it will. Of course, it will. This is something that can bring you back. And apart from that, I've experienced so many beautiful techniques of meditating. And I remember at the beginning, because we were kind of small-ish group. I think it was 11 of us, and the I don't know what are the odds, but all of us were women. So we had girl power kind of group with us, and we really our teachers were so kind and thoughtful and just amazing in sharing the wisdom. But also, we started very gently in terms of the meditation sessions duration. So I think we started like under an hour to do like the longest seat. And we like extended the time successively, landing at this 2 or 2.5 hour seats at a time. Something that really stood out to me. It's such a funny experience, meditation, right? What is it? I mean, but what I'm jokingly always saying that like I've done like meditation Kama Sutra there. Like I've tried every single position to meditate in, like kneeling, using the little chair, or standing up, sitting cross-legged, sitting with the pillows on the blankets, this, that, on the chair, like anything you can imagine. And I realized that really the body was the first layer that was screaming to me, come back, because we are in pain. And actually, one of the most, I don't know, just meditation where you just really enter other realms that, it feels like, okay, we're here for an hour, and then the gongs and the hour has passed. One of those experiences was when we were actually doing a meditation that was mm, where we were where we had to like focus on embodying a rock, like a physical rock, and the quality of stillness, especially in our bodies. Because a little tip, like whenever you think that the pain will go away because you move a little, no, it doesn't. Like it just gets worse. I feel like the only thing to do is to accept it's there and not trying to change it, because probably it's not going there. And it's funny because I think with this like stillness meditation of visualizing yourself like as a rock was the first time that I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Just because like in my mind there was created like, let's say, a story that I cannot move. Once again, coming back to, wow, I'm just seeing that this pattern reappears, that there is liberation, there's freedom in those restrictions. um that it just felt like really I was able to kind of transcend like both the body and the mind. Also, how body and the mind are connected. By mind, I mean this part that is like blah 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 blah, and all of the thoughts and all of the stories and this and that and this and that. So it was a very deep meditation for me. I really really loved it. um Apart from that, uh there was one experience that I think hit me the hardest, maybe. Uh, okay, wow, okay, yeah, okay, let's just say it. So basically, my whole life, I've been struggling with crippling um, anxiety, dread, fear of death since I was a little kid. Like since I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. I don't know. Basically, the moment I became, or like that I can recall, mm, I was just terrified. And of course, it was phases. It wasn't like, it was on my mind all the time. Just, I don't know, the idea of passing, and like that everything is so impermanent, and that, yeah, like basically who am I, right? I don't know, it all kind of connected there. And one day, I was not expecting this, the teacher told us, okay, let's do a death meditation. And I was like, okay. But no, honestly, The way he guided us through the meditation was really beautiful, and basically the gist of it is that you start, but just bear in mind that this was like a whole meditation. So it might be very different experience now for you to hear those questions versus when you're really like in it. And I think it started with like, I don't know, you have 5 years to live or something like this. And like, what do you do? What do you embody? Like, how do you see those last 5 years? And you stay. Again, time is such a construct that gets just diluted completely during those meditation sessions. So I cannot tell you how long we stayed there. But like, enough time has passed that my brain like was able to go everywhere, right? To kind of, oh, there is this and this. And then the next question is, okay, now you have 1 year to live, like 12 months. You just know that, yeah, sorry, next March 2026, like you are done with this lifetime. And it's interesting because my mind is like even more like doing experiences and this and that, right? I think you know where where we're going. And then the question is, okay, now you have 1 month to live. What do you do? Oh, I'm already getting goosebumps just thinking about this experience. And again, I was now that I recall this, my brain was still like feeling it with experiences, and of course now really prioritizing connections. I was like, yeah, probably I would fly to Poland to see my parents and do the skydive and do this and go there and so many things. And then it gets trickier and trickier. Then we go through a week, and then we go through a day. You have 1 day to live. What do you do? And then it's really interesting. We get to 1 hour, and now it's super confronting to think, wow, all of the things, it doesn't matter what I do. Like, I have 1 hour, like, I cannot fly to Poland, like, there's not enough time for it. I want to see my parents, like, it's 1 hour. Oh, I'm feeling so much just thinking about this. It's such a visceral experience in my body to think about this. And then we go down to 10 minutes. And then you go down to 10 seconds. And at this point, you just like, you just cannot, yeah, pretend anymore that you can, that it's about like doing stuff and external things and this and that. Like, 10 seconds, the only only thing that you have is just to be, like, just be as present as possible. And oh, I don't know, it was such a powerful experience. Oh my god, I can't believe, like, wow. And then the teacher actually counts down from 10 to 0. And you know what, I feel like literally like part of me just died there and there. It was wow. And it's so interesting, I haven't really told this story apart from after the retreat to some friends of mine, but just feeling so much that I'm feeling right now, it really shows me, wow, that was really powerful experience. And some people might say, wow, this is such a morbid way of approaching, but I feel like that, again, I do not know anything, okay? I'm just a curious little soul, but I feel like if all of us were aware of our mortality and that everything is so impermanent, and like put it a little bit more into our thought, like, my assumption is, or okay, my experience is that I generally live a happier, more fulfilling and beautiful experience. Because when you realize, like, literally, maybe the next person you see is the last person you see, how will you show up? maybe you won't get mad or angry about this little silly thing. Or maybe when the next time you see your parents, suddenly, okay, it still might be triggering on some level what they say or this or that, but you find like such a deep place of love and compassion there and there. I don't know. Then also it was beautiful, like beautiful. Definitely one of the most um, alive in me still. Wow, yeah, that was quite an experience. Also, what came to me, that of course, as with everything, you can see something as the worst thing ever or best thing ever, right? And then I realized, of course, it's not about like we all should live like tomorrow doesn't exist, or I don't know, maybe you should. Again, I don't know anything, so I'm just sharing. um, but actually, that the time or like the ability that we actually all go through micro deaths every day that we go to sleep, right? Like suddenly there's no Agatha or whatever your name is, like there's no this per, persona in the dream, right? You don't remember what's your job, what you have to do, like you're just there. Like there are no stories in my your mind as in the like being awake. And I realized that wow, this is such a privilege that we have this existence that seems to continue from day to day. That wow, you can actually witness like the seeds that you planted blossoming. How fucking crazy is that? Like this is so beautiful. So I feel like, of course, as always, it's about embracing both ways of the ends of the spectrum. But I just want to share my experience with you. And in general, like the whole 10 days, I think I might have struggled a bit. Like first, maybe like third day or fourth day, definitely a lot of ego has been awakened. I was like, I'm in Mexico. Why am I here? Just stuck here. Like I could be exploring this and that, this and that. And of course, I even asked this question, how to navigate this, to the teacher. Um, and yeah, basically he said what I already knew, like I chose this experience for some reason. Like I've been around in the world all my life, basically, right? Being free to go to see this rock and this forest. But for some reason, I'm here. So I think it was one day that I really felt like, oh, why am I here? But after that, I was just so at peace again, like coming back to these restrictions or liberation that you don't really need to be quote unquote productive or like think about what to do tomorrow and what's in a week. Like it all just dissolves that, like, I mean, also there's no point about thinking what's tomorrow because tomorrow is like today. Like it's kinda actually now it's just hitting to me, uh kinda like a groundhog day. Like you just wake up and it starts again. It starts again. And it kinda, of course, maybe it matters a little bit what you experienced the day before, but actually it does not. So I think by the day seven or eighth, I was like, yes, this is amazing. Like this is life. But also what's interesting, like day nine, I was actually starting to feel anxious. That you need to go back to the quote unquote real world and how to navigate that and what to do. And but the day has come, as I said, it's really funny to tell you that it's 10 days and what does it mean and how does it feel, but you just need to experience how it is to just be for 10 days. Of course, you don't need to do Vipassana or chiller Vipassana, but I do think that in nowadays world, it's very, very precious to have the possibility to be somewhere where all of your, let's say, human um, needs are there, and also you have a teacher. I think this was super important. And also what was interesting, I really felt like I was bonding with people that were there. with all the other 10 people, even though we have not spoken at all. But like, we went through the experience together. It was really, really powerful. It was beautiful to experience this way of connecting with fellow human beings, not through talking and like the stories, and like just through the experience, that it was so pure in a way. I don't know. um and I remember, just coming back to the experience itself, there was this one moment. I think it was actually after the death meditation. So we had like a tiny little pool outside, but like really tiny and very, very basic. But I remember, I think it was after the death meditation, and I was upstairs. Like, you had to go through this like little rounded stairs to go upstairs. Um, and then one more stairs to go to the, let's say, the swimming pool area. And I remember I was walking out, or we had a break or something like this, and I was outside, and I just noticed that this little wasp, or I don't know, some kind of a bug or little living being that was kind of bigger. Like, I think it was like 3 centimeters, like half of your finger. Like, it was kind of big because I could see it from the upstairs. So imagine, like, of course, it wasn't like kilometers away, but like it was further than, yeah, it wasn't like a fly. And I noticed it just fallen into the pool. And I remember, like, I just ran downstairs to kind of save it. But I don't want to talk about this. But I remember in the moment, literally, it felt like there's nothing more important to do. And why am I saying about this? I'm not sure, but I remember viscerally that it's such an interesting experience. After you understand everything is so impermanent, like probably me before, like I was like, yeah, I don't, maybe I do care, but not enough to go downstairs. But there I was just like, I don't know, in such a here and now, that like I was like, yes, this is, yeah, I don't know. Wow, it's such a interesting experience. So basically, also, what was very interesting, at the last day of our retreat, we had this little closing circle where actually we all would break the silence. So, of course, our teachers were talking, and then all of us went into the center to share how they felt. And it was so funny, and I think especially for me, because I didn't get to meet anyone before, how many stories my brain already built about all of the people that were around me. Like, I had no idea what, like, who are they, where are they from. And it's funny, because with some people I was like, oh, this lady is French for sure. I was like expecting to hear like such a French accent, but of course all of my all of my assumptions were shattered. It was very, very funny. And also, um, it's interesting how the brain works, right? Because I was like there to just experience whatever I was about to experience, but still my brain couldn't like resist and just created all of the stories about everyone, what they are doing and where are they from. So it's just funny, and it's funny to be faced as like cherry on the top of this whole experience, that wow, like your brain creates stories all the time, and sometimes like based on basically and nothing, anything, but it was really, really beautiful to have this time together. And at the end, actually, we had this guy that was doing like sound healing. So finish a silent retreat with the sound healing. It was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And the next day, um, almost all of us, we were going away from the place, and we had little kirtan. We sang some mantras together. It was really like just wholesome. And I remember it was so helpful that majority of us, we went to this little town that was close by, San Cristobal de las Casas, and we actually, some of us, we traveled together after that. Anyway, um, it was, I cannot tell you like how weird it feels to be immersed in like some random Mexican town where everyone is honking, everything is happening on the street, and you're just emerging from the forest after 10 days of like just being. It was such like, I remember I was so overstimulated, like I literally had to stop for a few minutes after getting out of the taxi and was like, what is happening? Like, wow, 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 wow. So yeah, that's my experience. Probably I could talk way, way, way longer about the ins and outs, but it's interesting experience for me as well. What I shared with you to see like what even is the most um, alive for me after a year of this experience. Um, so yes, if this feels like a journey you would like to embark on, I would really just go for it. You know, I know it might feel a little bit scary, 10 days and then overwhelming, but really in the moment, like you learn to be so much in the present that like your brain stops kind of counting the days. At some point, it just is. And I feel like there's nothing more valuable to, of course, because I haven't really shared what many insights I had about my relationships, my family, and everything basically how I run my life and what's important. Like I don't think it's sustainable to just for me to live in a silent retreat. I still want to experience the world, but I definitely would see this as reappearing ritual maybe on a yearly basis to do something like this. And especially if you've never done something like this, um, I think it has potential to be very life changing, especially in our era of like overstimulation on every corner and the biggest corporations just working toward getting every second of our, let's say, attention, or every second of it, to fill every little void that could lead you to just you being with you. Like there are so many things to do and this and that and this and that. And of course, I guess, big part what led me there was that I knew deep inside that that this satisfaction that I was facing, even though, from the outside, my life was like looking perfect. I had such a good job. I was paid a lot more that I could spend traveling full time all over the world, and just like I could do any experience I wanted. But I found such a profound emptiness in that after a while. When you really start thinking that is, yeah, when you're unable to just be and be with yourself no matter what's happening. I feel like it doesn't matter if it's with good things or bad things, quote unquote, right? Good and bad, this is like kind of human made concept. uh, but that it's all about your capacity to experience. And I think this might be one of the biggest things that during this whole experience we also did different meditations that I didn't spoke about here because we're already at an hour. Wow. But the capacity you have to just experience life, for me this was something that definitely increased. And this is kind of what relates to what I said at the beginning, that it's not only, oh yes, the good things I want more and the bad things I don't want, and just like resisting. It's such an art of being, and there's such a peace and freedom and liberation in even being aware that this witness consciousness, this is actually you. You're the one who's looking. And that's why I probably, there's not a person I would not recommend it to. Or no, actually, if you would feel forced to go there, then don't go there. um, but if you have still the resistance, even though you know you want to experience it, like maybe let it this be your sign. Like, yes, go, go and see and experience and imagine. Like, it's funny how the brain works, right? Because it's, when I tell a story, people are like, oh my God, 10 days. And I mean, me too. Oh my God, 10 days. But also like, it's 10 days. Hello. It's like nothing in scope of your whole life that you lived up until this point. I can assume it's okay. I won't do math now, but like a little, right? It's one, wait, is it like 2% of a year? Something like this to spend 10 days there. Um, so yeah, just try it for yourself. um just try it for yourself, and I guess if I could give any advice, I don't know if I um could, but I guess just do it. um if you're scared, that makes sense. That would be weird. We would all be already enlightened beings if we were thinking, oh, 10 days silent meditation, yeah. Yay, yay, yay. But no, in all seriousness, um, don't take the resistance that also appears as a sign not to go. I think actually almost everything in life that's worth pursuing, it has some aspect of little bit resistance because it's something new, right? And it's interesting. Probably all of us would have such different experiences and records of those. Um, so, yeah, just don't take my words for it. Go and experience for yourself. And, just remember that words are very limiting medium to like try to convey how it feels. I don't know. Maybe I will put in the description. I don't know. I don't know how to do the podcast thing, but I can leave you a link for the place that I went to. It's of course not sponsored. I wish. No, but like I will leave it to you if you want to check them out. I will also leave a link to the actual Vipassana website if you want to check it out. And that being said, thank you so much. If you're still here listening to me, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you sticking around. And I'm really hopeful that this brought you something, whatever you were looking for. And that being said, you're amazing human being, and I know like it's so easy to judge ourselves that there are still so many things you can work on, but I realized, yeah, the work is never over. Like no matter how much healing, meditation, therapy you do, like there will be always something, and it's just freaking amazing that you're doing what you're already doing. So just let this sink in, like give yourself some love and appreciation that wow, you're on the path already. That's all that matters. And really, I appreciate your time, and I hope to hear you in the next one. And if you want to, let's say, stay in touch, then please follow and rate the episode on Spotify. I don't know how it works, but just click some things in the apps, and the next episode will be coming. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Bye.